It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug. Thanks for being with me today. Okay, my friends, it's Anything Can Happen Wednesday here. Last week I did a World Wednesday, and today I'm doing a Weird Wednesday. I haven't done one of these in a while, and I'm going back to music by Frank Zappa today, so seatbelts on, y'all. I've been doing these Daily Doug episodes for almost 3.5 years now, and I think the musician that has challenged me the most is Frank Zappa. I started out listening to his Inca Roads. I was really blown away by that tune and by the musicianship of his entire band. By the way, that's really what blew me away, is just the depth of quality from all of the people that he has performing with him. Since we listened to Inca Roads, I listened to Blessed Relief, I listened to the Yellow Snow Suite, to Cosmic Debris, Peaches on Regalia, The Black Page. I listened to the rest of Apostrophe, all of side 2, and most recently it was 50/50. Well, today, y'all, I am going to be listening to The Adventures of Greggary Peccary. And I have spot checked this a little bit, and if the rest of the piece is as nuts as the first 10 or 15 seconds, then we are in for a wild, wild ride today, and it's going to be fun. So this song, The Adventures of Greggary Peccary, takes up all of side 1 of Frank's 1978 album called Studio Tan. Now, I have read about litigation and conflict around the release of this record, but I'm not sure I understand everything, but what I do think I understand is that Frank and his manager were on the outs, and Frank wanted to switch his distributor, which was Warner Brothers Records. And amid the mess, Warner Brothers decides to release this album without Frank's authorization and without telling him. Here's what Frank said at the time. He says, "I delivered 4 tapes to Warner last March," and that would have been March of 1977. And he says, delivered 4 tapes to Warner last March as our contract specified, and they released this one without telling me. I have received no advance or no royalties from Warner. I consider it a bootleg or pirated album, and I'm suing the record company in California. It's always something with Frank, isn't it? So today I'm going to be listening to the version that I think was released in 1991 that Frank approved personally. It is remixed from the original version, and it fixes the fade out that had shortened that 1978 version as well. So before we dive in, y'all, let's talk about this piece a little bit. It is a side-length track. It's 21 minutes long. They did basic tracking for this during the Grand Wazoo and Waka Jawaka sessions in 1972. And I think that they added musicians and layers to the instrumentation for the next few years on top of that. And from what I could find, here are the musicians involved. And I think these were musicians that were at least involved in the Record Plant sessions in Los Angeles in January of 1975. This is a long list, y'all, but it's important to me to list these people because I think they're amazing. Frank is on guitar and vocals. We've got George Duke on the keyboards, Ruth Underwood, the great Ruth Underwood, on percussion, Chester Thompson on the drums. They add John Berkman and Michael Zerott on piano. We've got Pamela Goldsmith, Murray Adler, Sheldon Sanoff, Jerry Kessler, and Edward Mears on some strings. We've got Bruce Fowler, Don Waldrop, Jock Ellis, Dana Hughes, Graham Young, Jay DeVersa, and Malcolm McNabb on brass instruments. We've got Earl Dumler, Joanne Caldwell McNabb, Mike Altschul, Ray Reed, Victor Morosco, and John Rotella on some woodwind instruments. And then they add Alan Estes and Emil Richards on some auxiliary percussion. That's quite an ensemble, y'all. It's basically a chamber orchestra with some amplified rock instruments. And that's some great ammunition for somebody like Frank, right? So, okay, before we start, a little bit about the synopsis, because this is nuts, y'all. The story goes that Greggery Peccary is a small peccary, which is a type of pig, and he's named after Greggery Peck. He owns a red Volkswagen and works at Big Swifty and Associates, trendmongers. I had no idea that the Swifties were around back in the 70s, but occasionally they were. Trendmongers. So Gregory is quite popular with the lady stenographers there at his company. Of course, he's a ladies' man. And he is inspired to invent the calendar. Gregory, Pope Gregory, the Gregorian calendar. Yeah, it's all kind of witty, right? And the calendar, of course, catches on, and it causes chaos, as people can now keep track of time and plan ahead and know how old they are and all of that stuff. So people get mad that he has invented the calendar, so he is hunted by some aggravated people, and he takes shelter in a cave. But the cave turns out to be the mouth of Billy the Mountain. And I don't know anything about Billy the Mountain, but I see that it's a reference to another Zappa song. Okay? So Billy spews some brown clouds, he's keeping it brown, and he has hacked up some boulders, and Gregory is alarmed by this, but he doesn't realize that Billy the Mountain actually exists. He just sees what's going on, and he's alarmed by it. So what does he do? He calls a philosopher. Of course he does. And he ends up meeting with Quentin Robert de Nameland, who is the greatest living philosopher known to mankind. Nothing but the best for our good Mr. Peccary here. The philosopher appears to be a fraud without any authenticity at all, and ends up soliciting payment without providing any answers. And our poor dear Gregory is left to continue pondering the presence of these darn brown clouds, and he's ended up being confused and cynical, especially about philosophers. And I think that's where the story ends. What happened to Gregory is what I want to know. Here's what I'm going to do, y'all. There is a ton of lyrics in here. So along with my screen recording, I am going to be scrolling through the libretto of this, and I'll share it with you here in the final video so that you can follow along and see. There's a lot, from what I can tell, of very fast language, and it's odd language, and so I want to have the chance for us to read and follow along together so that we're not left behind. Whew. All that being said, I think it's time to get zapped, y'all. Let's do some Zappa, and I think I've got enough protection here. We're going to be just fine. So it's Greggery Peccary from Frank Zappa, and it's 21 minutes, y'all. So strap in, grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's enjoy ourselves, shall we? Greggery Peccary from Frank Zappa. Off we go.
The Adventures of Greggary Peccary.
The Adventures.
Oh, here comes Gregory, little Greggery Peccary, the nocturnal gregarious wild swan.
That's about all I've heard. I stopped it there.
Peccary is a little pig with a white collar that usually hangs around between Texas and Paraguay, sometimes ranging as far west as Catalina.
Catalina, Catalina, Catalina.
This particular peccary is part of that bold, new breed that extinguishes itself by markings which resemble a wide tie directly below the white collar.
If it's wide enough, everyone will know that the tie I'm wearing is a symbol of how nimble my mind will go. Wow.
Swank suave.
There's some guitar in there.
Huna hen, huna, huna.
Amazing, right? It's closer to avant-garde classical writing of the day than it is to anything happening in rock and roll, isn't it? There's some strings, individual strings. A little sequential pattern. All that percussion. Melodic percussion. Y'all know there's going to be no way that I can follow what's going on here harmonically. I don't have perfect pitch, and I do what I do based on tonal movement that I've heard often. Listen!
Look out, here he
Look
comes
out.
again.
Greggery Peccary. Yes, it's Greggery Peccary.
Back and forth between brass and woodwinds.
Every morning, Greggery drives his little red Volkswagen to the ugly part of town where they keep the government buildings.
Ugly part of town where they keep the government. Wooden. Extremely avant-garde. The sense of phrasing that we're used to is completely thrown out the window. Brass in there too.
Place to park around here.
It's so fun to find a place to park around.
I got you, y'all.
Greggery Peccary takes the elevator up to the 83rd floor of a grim, gray, evil-looking building with a sign on the front reading, Big Swifty and Associates.
Big Swifty and Associates.
Trendmongers.
Trendmongers. That's cool.
And what, might you ask, is a trendmonger? Well, a trendmonger is a person who dreams up a trend. Like the twist. Or flower power.
Hit it, Chester.
And spreads it throughout the land using all the frightening little skills that science has made available.
So this part's in 7. Man, the malleted percussion is next level, y'all.
And so it was, one fateful morning, Greggery Peccary made his way through the steno pool.
Okay.
Hi, Mildred. Hello, Gladys. Wanda.
Yes, from the moment they laid eyes on him, all the girls in the Big Swifty steno pool knew here was a nocturnal gregarious wild swine on his way up.
He's
a Peccary
going
of destiny,
somewhere, our
adventure,
Greggery.
and romance.
Is there any mail for me?
They're singing for him.
At Big Swifties, we all know. Whoa, whoa. You'll go.
This needs to be animated.
For any gimmick or gizmo, wouldn't you rather
Into
be
a cartoon.
involved in a series of colorful
I would buy
time-wasting
this.
trends?
Air hockey. Big dush.
Down by half step.
Yo, 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 yo. Is your wife snoring by the sink? Yo, 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 yo. Ain't
your life boring, don't you think?
Life is so much better when there's some little something to do.
True.
Does it matter that this waste of time is what makes a life for you?
I must plummet boldly
A waste of
forward
time,
to my ultra-vinyl
creating
laminated
trends.
simulated replica mahogany desk with a strategically placed imported very hip water pipe and the latest edition of the Whole Earth catalog, and rack my agile mind for a spectacular new trend, thereby rejuvenating our limping economy and providing for bored, miserable people everywhere some great new thing to identify with.
Okay. He needs a new trend. That can't be Frank doing those high voices too.
Busy making them for you.
Well, I can do it, so maybe he does it too.
Highly efficient and
I love the stenographers. That's
And
hysterical.
with that, Greggery turned and strode nonchalantly into his dinky little office with the desk and the catalog and the very hip water pipe, and proceeded with a vigor and determination known only to piglets of a similarly diminutive proportion to single-handedly invent the calendar.
The calendar.
With his eyes rolled heavenward and his little shiny pig hoofs on the desk, Greggery ponders the question of eternity and fractional divisions thereof, as mysterious angelic voices sing to him from a great distance, providing the necessary clues for the construction of his thrilling new trend.
Sunday. We started
Wow.
Sunday.
Sunday, Saturday, Tuesday through Monday.
Music is incredible. And as odd as the music is,
Saturday.
it maintains its level of oddness, which makes it, after a certain amount of time, feel consonant to us. Like,
And
okay,
thus
this is
the
our
calendar
palette, so
in
this
all
is
of
what
its
works.
colorful disguises was presented to the bored and miserable people everywhere. Greggery issued a memo on it, whereupon the entire contents of the steno pool identified with it strenuously and worshipped it as a way of life, and took their little pills by it, and went back and forth from work by it, and paid their rent by it, and before long they were even having birthday parties in the office by it. Because now at last, Greggery Peccary's exciting new invention had made it possible for everyone to find out how old they were.
Shame. We know how old we are.
God wrought.
Have God wrought.
Unfortunately, there were some people who simply did not wish to know. And that's why, on his way home from the office one night, Greggery was attacked by a rage of hunchmen.
It's like DSE Ray.
Making his way through the evening traffic, Greggery notices that the other vehicles which crowd and bump his little red car are all inhabited by slowly aging, very hip young people.
Very hip young people are bumping into his little red car.
They appear to be casting sinister glances toward him through their glinting, acid burnout eyeballs, trying to run him off the road or make him bump into something, giving strong evidence of hostile aggression. To elude
Personified by
Greggery
the
takes
guitar.
the short forest exit off the expressway. They zoom after him in all manner of cars, trucks, garishly painted buses, and motorcycles.
Motorcycles.
Greggery takes a bumpy trail off the main short forest road, which leads him up the side of a famous and conveniently placed mountain.
Car has a sound.
And into a strange cave on the edge of a cliff not far from a little twisted tree with eyes on it. Meanwhile, the enraged hunchmen and hunchwomen rumble through the short forest until, realizing the little swine has escaped, they decide to park their steaming vehicles in a circular pseudo-wagon train formation and have a love-in.
And they have a love-in.
Under the influence of a fantastic amount of trendy chemical amusement aid, they proceed to perform lewd acts, rip each other off for small personal possessions, and dance with depraved abandon in the vicinity of a 6-foot pile of transistor radios, each one tuned to a different station.
Why not? This is amazing. Those sound like synthesizer trumpets. I bet they're real, though. They're so good! Imagine what the chart for this looks like. I'm sure he charted it. Just chaos. But I think we're getting like the different radio station tunes just popping in here or there. This is the trumpets. Indeed, Greggery, that's what I'm saying.
The hunchmen finally expire from exhaustion,
Thank God.
And Greggery, who has viewed the proceedings from a safe distance, breathes a sigh of relief. Only to be terrified once again by a roar of immense laughter.
Okay, there's the mountain.
Rumbling up from the very depths of the cave in which he has hidden his car.
Good Lord, what was that?
It's the Millennium Falcon all over again,
He has
y'all.
concealed himself inside the very mouth of Billy the Mountain.
I think that's where George Lucas got the idea for Empire Strikes Back.
Rocks and boulders hack up, and the air for miles around is filled with tons of dust, forming a series of huge brown clouds.
Clouds.
Who is making those new brown clouds? Who is making those clouds these days? Who is making those new brown clouds? Better ask a philosopher and see what he says.
Greggery stops at a gas station and
That's a good
makes a
idea.
mysterious phone call.
Mysterious home.
Is this the old loft with the paint peeling off it by the Chinese police where the dogs roll by? Is this where they keep the philosophers now? With the rugs in the dust where the books go to die? How many has got?
Well,
He's got quite a few, just sitting around there with nothing to do. Well, I just called you up because I wanted to see. a philosopher be of assistance to me?
Greggery receives information that the greatest living philosopher known to mankind is currently in possession of the very information in question. And furthermore, this information could be his if only Greggery would attend a special therapeutic group assembly. Classes now forming and available at a special low introductory fee. And now here he is, the greatest living philosopher known to mankind, Quentin Robert D. Nameland. Take it away.
Folks, as you can see for yourself, the way this clock over here is behaving, time is of affliction.
Time is of an affliction.
This might be cause for alarm among a portion of you, as from a certain experience I tend to proclaim. The eons are closing.
The eons are closing.
I'm interpreting Quentin Robert de Nameland as a Pentecostal preacher. Otherwise a fraud.
He's got tritones in the background just going back and forth.
And after all this time, it's almost received as a consonant sound, a sound at rest, because that's how he's conditioned our minds for this. We adapt very quickly. If he was to throw in a couple of triads here or there, just basic triads, we'd think, what the hell is going on? Even though we normally think of triads as, you know, the simple consonant at rest sounds, but he's taking us in a completely different way. Brilliant. Ruth is unbelievable on the percussion, y'all. Yeah, tritone.
Checks payable to Quentin Robert D. Nameland, greatest living philosopher known to mankind.
That's his full name.
Who is making those new brown clouds? Who is
Meanwhile,
making
Greggery just
those
wants to
clouds
know
these
who the hell
days?
is making the
Who is
clouds.
making those new brown clouds? If you ask the philosopher, he'll see that you praise.
Sounds like a coda. I think he landed in C. That is the most unique piece of music, meaning it doesn't really have a peer. I'm trying to think of what I can compare it to. The only other stuff I can compare it to is other stuff by Frank Zappa. Normally we're like, oh, this sounds like this band or this composer or a little bit of this or a little bit of that. That is so frickin' unique and witty and smart and unbelievably difficult. I can't imagine the chart that they had to play, y'all. I'm bowled over by that. One, it's a fun story, isn't it? I'm picturing like the animation in my head as he's talking about it. He's a great storyteller. It's an odd story. Poor Greggery just wants to make his trends and live by his new calendar and drive his little red car and enjoy life. And all of these people are just out to get in his way. And he's trying to figure out how to get the Millennium Falcon out of, what was that guy's name? Billy the Mountain. And just steer clear of those brown clouds. I would steer clear of the brown clouds too. Greggery, holy crap, y'all. Every time I come back to Frank Zappa, he exceeds my already high expectations. It's incredible. It's not music to kind of, relax to. It's music that makes you be an active participant and just engross yourself in it, and that's where you get the most fulfillment out of what's going on. Some music is passive. It's like, we're here to accompany you. We're not going to bother you. You live your life, and we're just going to fill in the background. And sometimes that music is appropriate, but when you really want to dig into something and have your mind just taken on a journey, Frank will give it to you. Every time, so far, every time. I'm excited as shit to get back to Frank, y'all. That was fun. It makes me want to listen to the rest of the album. But again, I don't know. I think I got it right about Studio Tan. And apparently there was other things that he released it on. And then it's so confusing. I just decided, let's just, say that there was conflict around it and then move on and see about the rest of the piece. But I think that's all that I have. I'm going to look at the rest of my notes to see if there's anything else I want to say about this. I don't think that there is. I'm ready to dive in and see what I missed. I don't think I missed much. His pacing was so good, right? And plus it helps to have the lyrics along with us to confirm what we're hearing. And like I said, he gives you time to kind of understand. Did I just hear what I just heard? Right. Okay. So he's a pig, and he's got a collar, and he works on the 83rd floor. All of that stuff we can remember because he's such a good storyteller, and because it goes through and doesn't overwhelm us any one time, once at a time. And I just can't believe what I just heard, y'all. Doesn't happen very often that I get completely gobsmacked by something that I don't think I've ever heard anything like it before. I really don't. Amazing stuff. I don't remember who sent this in originally, but thanks for doing that, and thanks to all of you for upvoting it and reminding me that I've got to continue to include Frank's music here on the Daily Doug, because I'm a better person for hearing that. That was so much fun, and it put me in a really better mood. So I'm happy for all of you for being with me. This has been fun. The Adventures of Greggary Peccary from Frank Zappa. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time on another edition of the Daily Doug.